Hey there, welcome to my portfolio tour. I was excited and nervous to make this because a lot of my current pieces are not kosher because I didn't understand copyright, but now I do, and this is what I have so far. And this piece here is one I did for a mission that I lived in, and that's my hands and the woman I worked for, and she's passing me a bowl of water. It was done in acrylic, and this is the underpainting for a flower that I painted for a friend of mine that let me stay with her for a little bit. I'm not real experienced with acrylics, but I had a lot of fun doing this piece. I love flowers, and I was excited about the petals, trying to layer that really pretty color of pink and get that gloss that you can see there, like highlights and shadows and stuff, but I had no idea what I was doing. I like how the petals look, but when we get to a finished piece here in a little bit, I kind of went too far. There was a certain point about here where I should have left the petals alone, and I didn't, and I was happier with it here than, what ends up being the finished piece. And I think my friend still has it hanging on her wall. I hope so. In her mind, it wasn't finished. In my mind, it was, because, like I said, I'm not real experienced with acrylics, and I don't really enjoy acrylics, but I think that's just because I'm inexperienced. And so I have a hard time with them, and I don't know. I love art, and I really like to enjoy it, and when I'm not enjoying it, I tend to get frustrated, and I'll give up, or just not work on a piece for a while. But I guess hanging there didn't look that bad. The petals were pretty nice. This here is a self-portrait. I really loved this one. I was feeling so good about it. I was really happy with it, and I didn't include the picture that I'm about to mention, but I got to a point with this picture where I was almost done. I was going really well, and I was really happy with it, and then my daughter drew on my nose and my lips with a pen. So I think I still have this somewhere. I wanted to try and fix it, but I don't think I can. Maybe in Photoshop I could, but yeah, it's really nice. Man, that was looking so good. I was so happy with that piece. Kids, what are you gonna do? Okay, so this is another one I did for that mission that I was staying in. It was for a women's group brochure. I don't know if they ever used it, but the lady I worked for, she gave me a reference picture, and I just kind of loosely followed the reference picture. She made a lot of modifications to what she wanted, told me what she wanted, and I drew it up, and this is it. This is me taking a picture of it above the bathroom sink, because that was the only place I had good lighting. Well, the only place I had really good lighting. And if you watched my other video where I draw a similar picture to this, it's a picture of my sister's hands holding some flowers. I mentioned that I really enjoy drawing hands. First time I ever drew hands, I was pretty young, and I did a really good job. It was two hands. One was holding a locket, and one was holding a handkerchief, and it was on notebook paper. And I was so proud of it. I folded it up and I carried it in my jeans pockets everywhere I went. And then one day it got washed in the washing machine in the pocket of my jeans. So I still kept it after that. It held together for a little while, but after some wear and tear, it just pretty much disintegrated. So I don't have that one anymore. But that really helped me be inspired to try and draw hands again in the future. I had a lot of fun with it. Okay, so this is one of the ones I was talking about, the copyright thing. So I got this idea out of a history book. And this one too. This is a portrait of Christina Aguilera. And man, I didn't want to not include this one because I'm really proud of it. It's got some pretty big obvious flaws, and this is the one I was talking about in my other video where I draw my sister's hands. Her eyelashes and her lips, in my reference picture, they were casting really big dark shadows, so her lips look kind of off and her one eyelash looks kind of off because the shadow kind of melds into it and makes it look bigger than it is. So it kind of makes her facial features look kind of lopsided. But, you know, despite that, I'm pretty happy with it overall. I did it fairly quickly and with some kind of limited resources. And here in a few seconds, I think, yeah, the microphone, the handle of it, that metallic kind of look, I was so proud of myself for that. I've always wanted to be able to draw like that, and I pulled it off in this one picture, and not even sure how I did it, but and the part that you actually sing into that has like the mesh wiring type of look, when we get to the picture where I got that little detail in, I think I have a close-up of it. Oh, I'm so proud of my work on that too. It looks so nice, and it actually was so simple. Like, it was just a matter of like paying attention to the sizes of the shadows and how far they were spaced and the patterns that they were in. And the hands too. I didn't do a great job on her shirt. She had kind of like a ruffly texture type of shirt, and it was really hard to do without just making it look messy. And I'm not real happy with her. Her hair's definitely not finished. Like, I wouldn't say this one's finished, and this is how it is to this day. Like, I didn't know where to go with it without messing it up, so here's the close-up of the microphone. I'm so proud of myself for that. Learned something with this picture. Well, I learned a lot of things with this picture. It's not perfect, but I'm really happy with it. And some of the background I just kind of smudged, so that smudged graphite, so there would be something there. And this picture, this is one that I'm probably almost most proud of, if not most proud of. And this is a friend of mine, the one who has the flower picture. This is a picture of her baby son when he was a little baby. I spent a lot of time on this picture, and like, I know the contrast could be higher and the darks could be darker, but this is another one that I was just too afraid to go any further and mess it up. But I'm really proud of it. The blanket was really hard. It took a lot of work. Oh, and this is Kristen Crook's eye. She played Lana Lang in Smallville. I love her. This was a real quick little sketch, just trying to draw an eyeball. And this here is none other than Jerry Garcia. I drew this picture for one of my exes. He was a deadhead, and this picture was so hard. Like, I had so many troubles, especially with his hand, because he's missing a finger and he's playing guitar. So like right here I had given up on his hand and kind of smudged it to try and hide that I couldn't really successfully draw it. But I do fix it later, and it ends up looking pretty good. And if you're wondering what's going on with his head, the reference picture for this was also a black and white picture, and there was like a really bright light behind him that was like shining through his hair, giving it that really see-through ghostly look. And being not quite as experienced as I am now, I didn't really know how to pull that off, but I think I did a decent job. And yeah, there's his hand more complete. When I finally got done with this picture, I was pretty happy with it. Actually really happy with it. I don't know what happened to me when I was in North Dakota. Like, most of my best work that I've done in my life I did in North Dakota. But his shirt, like the backlighting on his shirt and the reflections and his crooked smile, it might look weird because you're not looking at the reference photo, but that's almost literally what his mouth looked like. And if you notice, I made the missing a finger handprint of Jerry Garcia, and I put a deadhead steely skull in the black background next to his head above his arm there. Thought that was a nice touch. Okay, so this is a portrait of a friend of mine's daughter. And she asked me to draw portraits of all her daughters, and she was going to pay me for it. And then, I don't know, she just kind of disappeared, and I never heard from her again, so I still have these pictures. And if she ever happens upon this video and sees it, she should hit me up in the comments and get a hold of me, and I'll get those pictures to her. And this is just a chalk pastel, just kind of exercise, loosening up, getting the juices flowing, but it's pretty. I like it. I like the pinks and the oranges. And this was a collaboration with that other artist friend of mine in North Dakota. And this one here I got off the magazine of one of those little, like, you know, Christian bulletin little tiny magazine things, and I loved the art style, so I gave it a try, and I think it's really cool. Not really my forte or my cup of tea, but it was fun, and I like the result. So these two are both me. One of them is at my old job, and the one on the left with the red and black hair, that's just what I kind of look like. I didn't blend the black very well at all, and no, I don't have a white afro. That's supposed to be a hairnet. Working on that technique still. But this was when I first got my nice markers and I was just trying them out. So this is Adele. I was doing this for a friend of mine who's a big fan of Adele, and my inspiration was to kind of write hello across her face and hide it in her facial features. I don't know if you can kind of see it, and then I wanted to go over it with colored pencils and make it all different crazy colors. And this was just for fun. I just wanted to draw a feather. It's not real great, but it was meticulous, and I'm proud of myself for finishing it. And this here is Ichigo and Rukia from the anime Bleach. No copyright intended. This is someone's fan art. I couldn't quite get Ichigo's face right, which makes me sad, but I like it. And this is just a little doodle. I was trying out my markers. And this was out of my head. And this is me. I love this picture. This is from a selfie I took. I was wearing a mask and a wig that I found in Claire's in the mall. And I changed it a bit, and I really like it. I could see myself as like a creepy anime villain character. And this is another one I did when I first got my, I think this is the very first thing I did with my markers, just trying it out. This is from my head too, and I don't usually draw from my head anymore because I have a really hard time doing it. But this was a lot of fun, and I was really proud of myself. And eventually it got water on it. One of my cats knocked a bottle of water over on it. But it's not that bad. It's still in decent shape. You'll see it in the last picture. It's finished state because the water got poured on it before it was finished. But you'll see. Like, you can see it, but it's not that bad. It could have been a lot worse. And that eyeball, I'm so proud of that eyeball. And there's like a little reflection of a mountain in it. I think it's pretty cool looking. And like at this point, I wasn't very experienced with markers at all. I was just kind of going off of things I'd seen other people do. Experimenting with different textures and techniques. And yeah, there's the water by the front of the mouth there in the background in the sky. And this I just threw in there because this was just a quickie, just a sketch. It's not great, but I like the hair. I did a good job on the hair. And this was a pumpkin I did for a Halloween competition at work. I won a gift card for it. And like, to me, my expectations, what I thought it was going to be, it's not that great, but I was actually pretty proud of myself for the painting I did on the face, because like I said, I'm not really experienced with painting. So like, I think it's kind of like a cartoony, stylized, you know, kind of cool idea, especially for being on a pumpkin. So I carved everything out and then I painted on top of it. So this is Toshiro Hitugaya from Bleach. I love Bleach. This is another early one I did with my markers when I first got them. I just kind of went crazy. I just looked up all these pictures of my favorite anime, which is Bleach. I also draw Ichigo and Aizen. They're at the end of this video. But I really hope that Tite Kubo doesn't see this and get on me about copyright. I'm just a really big fan. I see a lot of fan art out there, so I mean, I don't think showing this in a video should be a big deal. But this is two different reference pictures, and I kind of just winged it on the dragon for the most part. Like, I used a reference picture for his face, but here's Ulquiorra. Oh my goodness, this is one of my favorite current pieces, because this here is the line work, and I drew it out with pencil, go over it with my fine liner, and that's this stage right here. And then I start coloring it in with black first, the parts that are black, because he's mostly white and black with some green and some blue, I think. And this next step here in a second, I think it looks so cool. I almost wish that I hadn't gone ahead and colored it in, because it looks so cool right here. It looked awesome, but at least I took a picture of it at this stage. It was so crisp looking. And I have a hard time with crisp things. Like, this isn't my style. Like, I'm not good at straight lines, so like, I'm super proud of myself for pulling this off. And his eyes, I love his eyes, and like, I love him as a character, and I love those blue lines coming down from his eyes. He's a bad guy, but he's a really likable bad guy. Like, I really like him. And he's so cool looking. In all of his different forms, he's just really cool looking. And I like that green kind of gradient background I put behind him. Kind of make him pop a little bit more. This is another one I'm not sure about the copyright on. I should probably find out and at least credit these people in the description. But this is another one. I was trying out my watercolor markers, and yeah, I was surprised. Like, I surprised myself with this picture. Like, the sky and the cloud, I didn't really try that hard on, but the branch and the bird, I was pretty impressed with myself. And here is Ichigo, and there's like 1.5 billion pictures of the process of drawing this. This is a pretty big drawing. I have a picture with my hand on it for scale in a little while, but drew this out meticulously. The reference picture was from the manga, like 78. I always forget which number it is. It's the one called God is Dead, where Ichigo and Aizen have their big battle. And this is straight out of the book, and I meticulously drew it out with pencil, traced over it with my fine liner, and then colored it all in, like piece by microscopic piece. And I didn't get his face quite completely right. And I think eventually I might go back over all of the big areas of black so you can't see those streaks. But when there's not like light glaring right at it, it looks so nice. And later on, yeah, this gray part that's starting to show up on his, he has kind of like a shell over his body right now. And it's supposed to be broken off at his left, but the way he's facing right now, it's our right. That shoulder, it's broken off, so his arm's supposed to be white and the rest of him's supposed to be gray, but I accidentally went just a little bit too far and I colored some of his arm gray. I think unless you really know that, you wouldn't really notice. So there's my hand for scale, and just a little close up on the details. His hand there, the one that's kind of partway behind him, I got the shape of that so well. I don't know why, but for me that's just really satisfying to look at. And the black wispy things around him too, like, they just look so cool. I love just looking at this picture. And here's Aizen. You draw Ichigo, you gotta draw his arch nemesis, his villain. Well, one of them. But yeah, I was really proud of it. This one took a long time because all those little black lines in the back of his mouth, and they're also all through the white parts throughout his muscular like shading and stuff, took forever. The rest of it didn't really take that long, but just all those black lines there and trying to vary them to get kind of a texture, that took a long time. But I'm really happy with that piece too. This piece is the same size as the Ichigo piece, and an acrylic painting. Like I said, I'm not real good at those, and that's why I included this one, because it's just a simple little painting of a tree, and the reference picture is one that I took up in the mountains, and I ended up being real happy with it. Surprised myself again. I love when that happens. But yeah, this has been kind of a rushed tour through my current portfolio, and these are the supplies I used. Like I was talking about, my watercolor markers and Copic and my fine liners and brush tips and all that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm really excited to be posting my next videos, and I'm working on them currently. See you guys in the next one. Bye.